All right, we go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aziza. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm actually the program manager for the CS3 team. But today I'm pretty excited to talk about a project that I've been working on since I joined IFC back in 2023, and it's called the Community Parenting Support Saturation Project. So here's a quick look at our agenda today, just what we're going to go over. I'm going to go over the background of CPSS. I'm going to talk about our guiding framework, equity, human-centered design, and families. Then I'll introduce you guys to our CPSS communities. I'll talk about our evaluation and the lessons learned. And then we'll move on to any questions and some acknowledgements. Welcome. All right, for just some background and also a quick note, every picture in the presentation is like from our actual communities. I have a little note of where they're from. So a small background of the CPSS project. Back in 2017, there was a small group of foundations that had joined forces because they wanted to find an innovative way to provide families with young children a wide breadth of supports that could positively impact their child's growth and their readiness for kindergarten. So their central question ultimately was, can we significantly increase the number and percentage of children who enter kindergarten fully prepared to thrive by effectively engaging and supporting primary caregivers in their parenting efforts? So the central question and the purpose of CPSS is really about how could we support parents in impacting their children's readiness for kindergarten. So afterwards, Start Early Family Focus and Logan Square Neighborhood Association, they gathered some really crucial input from families through some focus groups, and they developed the CPSS concept. It is an innovative framework that involves entire communities in strengthening the parent-child or caregiver-child relationship to promote kindergarten readiness. Ultimately, the goal of the pilot was to promote kindergarten readiness. It does so through empowering parents or caregivers by providing them valuable knowledge, enhancing their skills, and reinforcing their beliefs and strengths. So the ultimate desired outcome is that parents are embraced and supported as the most important influences in their children's early learning, and every child starts kindergarten thriving, ready to learn, and excited about school. So the CPSS framework, we actually published the CPSS framework in 2024, in April 2024, I believe. And at the end of the presentation, I'll drop all like the PDFs I mentioned in here, and that's including the framework. Really, it consists of 8 main components. It's a big framework, but it consists of 8 components. You have your backbone organization, a tiered modeled approach, human-centered design, project lead meetings, an advisory committee sounding board, integrated referral system, data collection system, and marketing. So really the program aims to saturate every community using evidence-based parenting interventions. These are a menu of evidence-based interventions that some of you might be aware of or familiar with. The basics is one, right by text messaging system is one. You have parent programs like Circle of Security, Opening Doors, play groups. So evidence-based parenting interventions selected using a human-centered design and a racial equity approach. And they are expected to change the parenting practices and child outcomes by strengthening local systems, their strategies, and interventions that support parents in raising their kids. So what is saturation? Saturation is just an array of interventions. They collectively address the various parenting needs, and it's available to all parents with children 0 to 5 in their community. So the interventions include Tier 1, which are universal strategies, Tier 2 are short-term parenting programs, and Tier 3, which are the intensive approaches like home visiting. Ultimately, the anticipated result is comprehensive assistance to families. And here's a little visual of the tiered model approach. It just kind of helps like give a look as to how it works. They're all connected. They have the tier one, which is a light touch. This is your broad reach to parents. This would include things like your marketing efforts at community events, your distributing of learning kits or resource packets, your text messaging programs, so Bright by Text, Parent Powered, which used to be called Ready for K. So that would be trying to provide information to as wide breadth of parents as possible within the community. Then you go into your tier two. This is your more direct reach to parents. So these are your parent programs. These are Circle of Security, Abriendo Puertas. You have parent cafes, play groups. So they involve peer discussions, workshops. So parents not only are getting valuable like knowledge, resources, skills, but they're also getting a chance to sit together with other parents, interact. And most of the time, these parent groups should include, if they're not virtual, some type of childcare or some type of food or even stipends. And then you move into the tier three. So ultimately, your goal is by interacting them in tier one and tier two that you get them into that tier three, which is the most intensive intervention with parents. Those are things like home visiting or your intake referral systems like Iris, finding ways to connect parents with whatever they need, even beyond early childhood learning. Equity, human-centered design, and families. So during the startup phase of this project, which was from November through May 2021, the IFC team coordinated a training series on human-centered design for each community that was granted, each community grantee for the pilot, so that they could reflect on and also refine their implementation plans and collect information from families in their community. We partnered with Greater Good Studio to implement these trainings, and we helped build the capacity and train with Rockford, Aurora, and North Lawndale. And that was to ultimately help them implement these human-centered approaches. So in general, human-centered design approaches vary, but Greater Good Studio's core components are framing. So you start with framing, defining questions to answer and people to engage. You have research, learning from people about their needs and their values. Then you move on to synthesis. You find the patterns, any areas for opportunity, concepting, creating a high volume of new ideas to choose from. And then lastly, prototyping. You're making tangible mock-ups and gathering feedback. Here's a little gallery of some of what was done during these human-centered design trainings. So we had both in-person and virtual. Here's a clip from in-person. There was food provided. Parents brought their children along. I believe there was childcare provided. I wasn't there, unfortunately. They also had virtual HCD trainings, as you can see, using a lot of the method of sticky notes and idea creation. These are from specifically these two at the bottom are from North Lawndale. So you can kind of get an idea of how that idea creation was created and involved not just the community organizations that were going to be implementing this pilot, but the communities that would be receiving these services. Also, as a result of these human-centered design trainings, we were able to develop one-pagers. These also I'll provide at the end of the presentation. But these one-pagers provide a summary of their entire process, and I'll just go over their positive goals for each community. You can take a look at it further if you want to later. For Spark, their positive goal was, we want non-Spanish speaking parents under 30 years old in priority populations to engage in our Birth to 5 early childhood program, offering some more. In Rockford, we want families and community members to engage early and often with the development, scaling, and utilization of our tools and resources. And Carol Robertson, we want families to have a no wrong door experience when accessing early learning resources and engaging within community-based programs. And you can see from there, framing that goal and how they end up getting to their prototyping. There's even some testimonials at the bottom, which is great. So I'll introduce you to our communities, our 3 community grantees. There was a selection community. It was a rigorous process. There was a selection community, an RFP process, excuse me, and a rubric that was followed to make sure that the communities that they picked were the right fit. Really, there was 2 main considerations, having an existing early childhood collaboration that is working together, formally improving early childhood services locally, and having some element of parenting support interventions in place, or at least a plan to develop those interventions. And the awardees were Spark Fox Valley United Way in Aurora, Illinois. We have Alignment Rockford in Rockford, Illinois, and the Carol Robertson Center in North Lawndale, Chicago. So it's really impossible to fully show you all the amazing work that the communities did. So I'm going to show you the timelines of their implementation within the first 3 years, and then I'll give you some updates verbally, some new updates. But Alignment Rockford hasn't slowed down at all. They were awarded recently a grant for their project, Winning Start Winnebago. It provides free home visiting services and resources to support healthy pregnancies and child development and family bonding. They also launched a basics toddler garden. They developed it in partnership with the Severson's Dells Nature Center. And it's a special activity garden parents and their children can use. It incorporates the 5 basics, 5 principles of the basics. They also have over 11 ready to learn spaces. So these are at everyday locations like laundromats or barbershops, and they at the very least have a stand that contains the basics materials, some activities, and also some community resources or information when applicable. And then for some of the spaces, Alignment Rockford has been able to equip with things like bean bags and mats so that they can hold weekly story times. They also recently just started working with one of our consultants that work with the CS3 team, EduDream. They're a data consulting firm. They started a project with them to help them with their program data, as well as their early development instrumental and their middle development instrumental work with the Rockford Public School District. So that's going to be pretty exciting. I also wanted you all to get a chance to see some of the community organizations and the parents. So I'm going to play some videos. Here's Rockford. I have to escape out of here really quick. And please let me know if anybody has trouble hearing anything. Sorry, a little bit of some technical difficulties. Let me go ahead and pull it up and then I will play it. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Go.
The Community Parenting Support Saturation Program at Illinois Action for Children uses human-centered design to facilitate communities in building programs that support parents with the knowledge they need to help their little ones thrive before entering school. In Rockford, Illinois Action for Children partnered with Rockford Public Schools and the Ready to Learn Early Childhood Initiative, building relationships with the community to deepen the impact of their work.
In order for us to support families to the best of our ability as a community, we need to be thoughtful, we need to be strategic, and we need to be collaborative so that all families have access to what they need when they need it.
My name is Lakeisha. This is Avani. She's 1. She loves anything that makes noise. This is Alexander Jr. He's 10 months old. He is ready to move. As a family, we love tickle parties and beatboxing.
The Rockford community is unique. We are urban, suburban, and rural. We're a community with varied needs. Right now, we are working at getting our children up to speed at a 3rd grade reading level. That starts at birth. We applied for a grant through Illinois Action for Children, and we're amazed at all the support we got.
We started by empowering the community to build kits for new moms to receive when they left the hospital after birth. Nurses are then trained to go over the information inside the kits. These kits include a book we designed and a QR code that connects families to all the resources our community has to offer. It starts parents off with the knowledge they need, and then we can move into the programs that serve their unique challenges.
Open doors for me. There was resources, other moms I could relate to, other dads we could relate to, meetings once a week that gave me stability because most of the time I was just talking to a baby. All of the things that they helped us with, wonderful.
The relationship building we accomplished together was crucial. That's what's different about Illinois Action for Children. They guided us through the process, provided training, coaching, and connection. We'd really like to get to the point where we can ask the question, and how are the children? And if the children are fine in our community, we know our families are thriving. We know our economic situation will be thriving as well.
Our program, like the children we serve, still has growing to do. When supported by the full array of needed community resources, parents develop the knowledge, skills, and beliefs necessary to optimize their child's growth, learning, and readiness for kindergarten. Our goal is to expand into more communities and sustain the work we've started with the Community Parenting Support Saturation Program. And to do that, we need your support.
All right. All right, so Spark Aurora. Spark Aurora has not slowed down either. They have continued to implement their tier 2 strategies. So some of their more popular tier 2 strategies are the parent cafe trainings, the parent cafes for the parents and their play groups. Their play groups are in several locations like the Aurora Public Library. They also work in partnership with the Park District in Aurora as well during the summer to have outdoor play groups. And they also incorporate some sort of lesson incorporating aspects of the basics. So it's not just a playtime, but it's a playtime with lessons as well. They also, we've recently helped connect their team, so 3 full-time staff as well as one of their interns with parent cafe training free of cost through the CS3 team because they are constantly working to improve using professional development and help update and find more innovative ways to implement their parent cafe trainings as well. They also had really great success with opening doors abriendo puertas, and they're continuing to look into new ways to find partnerships and secure partnerships free of cost within the community with other partners. Right now, there are some challenges with some locations closing down, but they've still been able to continue implementing those programs. Another thing they've been really successful with is their Tier 3 initiative, which is their gateway intake. Over time, their gateway intake collects a vast array of information about parents, their demographic information, their children's needs, and it helps connect them directly to the resources that they need. In all time, they've completed over 1,100 gateway intakes, and they've also really pushed their ASQ 3 and ASQ SE2 screenings, and they've done over 300 or close to 300 of those.
The Community Parenting Support Saturation Program at Illinois Action for Children uses human-centered design to facilitate communities in building programs that support parents with the knowledge they need to help their little ones thrive before entering school. In Aurora, Illinois Action for Children partnered with Spark Early Childhood Collaboration and Fox Valley United Way to uplift long-standing programs with public awareness, parent engagement, and community connection.
It takes a village to do this work. Our community is diverse and requires a lot of bilingual support. We have families that speak everything from Spanish to Pashto. Illinois Action for Children help us understand the interconnectivity of our work, and using their data, we're better able to serve our families.
Mi nombre es Liz y ella es mi hija Allison. Allison tiene casi 2 años. Le encanta dibujar en todo, de juguetito o pretender. Yo soy mamá primeriza y soy la hija única de mis padres. El programa Abriendo Puertas me ayudó a aprender mucho sobre otros padres. No entendía la importancia de leerle a mi bebé. Mis padres nunca hicieron eso por mí. Estoy muy agradecida de tener la oportunidad de hacerlo mejor para Allison.
Yo nunca me he visto como una persona que tenga mucha voz, pero Spark sí me ha visto así. Les cuento a todos los padres que conozco sobre este programa maravilloso. El hecho de que los proporcionan en los idiomas que hablamos ayuda a crear confianza en que seremos escuchados. Mi hija se llama Janet. Ella es mi princesa, es muy delicada, es muy tranquila. Ella es mi primera niña, mi princesa. He sido parte de los grupos de Spark durante aproximadamente 8 años. Ojalá hubiera existido cuando nació mi hijo de 17 años. Yo era una madre muy joven y sin experiencia. Ha sido maravilloso ver crecer estos programas en los últimos años.
Los grupos de padres han ayudado a Allison a crecer más rápido de lo que podría haber imaginado. Yo conocí e hice amistades con otras mamás con las que puedo contar y nos apoyamos mutuamente para seguir aprendiendo y hacer un lazo fuerte de saber guiarla para que crezca, para que aprenda, para que participe, para que conviva, para que aprenda a compartir, porque esa es la hija única también y estoy muy feliz de haberlos encontrado y de continuar con su apoyo.
This is meaningful change. If that is sustained, the impact would be immeasurable.
Our program, like the children we serve, still has growing to do. When
All right. And last but definitely not least, we have Ready for K, Ready for Life with Carol Robertson Center in North Lawndale. So actually, the CPSS pilot is going into its final year this year in FY26, but Carol Robertson actually completed the pilot last fiscal year in FY25. They're able to do so because, one, they're a really big organization and they have really extensive staff. They were able to bring in a lot of their internal staff to help support the direct service providers that were implementing the Tier 2 programs, for instance, for Carol Robertson Center. So by doing that, they were able to achieve autonomy over the program sooner than the others. They were able also to complete the data transfer last year as well. They had their data program manager and I worked together to transfer all of their program data, which was housed in Smartsheet, over into Google Studio. So that's great. They also, one of their more popular Tier 2 programs that came out of the CPSS pilot was Circle of Security. What made it really popular was when the pilot was implemented in 2021, we were still dealing with COVID. So Carol Robertson decided to shift and host Circle of Security virtually. It ended up becoming a really popular option, and they continue to do it that way to this day because it's a lot more accessible for parents. I think they've completed 18 cohorts so far, and they continue to get interest enrollment. So it's been really successful. The program also offers a stipend at the completion of it, so it's also another great aspect of the program. And then we can hear from them too.
The Community Parenting Support Saturation Program at Illinois Action for Children uses human-centered design to facilitate communities in building programs that support parents with the knowledge they need to help their little ones thrive before entering school. In North Lawndale, Illinois Action for Children worked with Carol Robertson Center for Learning's Ready for Kindergarten, Ready for Life team, prioritizing relationship building with families and community leaders.
My name is LaShawn. This is Lamari. He's 5. He really loves to read, and he likes being around family. We live in North Lundale, Chicago. North Lundale is a very beautiful community. When Lamari was born, I didn't know where to go to learn about how I could be the best parent for him. And I am so grateful for the programs that have helped us grow.
While the needs of our community are great, our parents are unwavering to their commitment to their children. They show up and show out. And when they have access to programs, they grab onto those resources and utilize them fully.
I really enjoyed the Circle of Security program. They help me understand myself and my own traumas so that I can see how I am carrying that into my parenting. I've learned so much. Certain situations you hear from another parent can help you with your kid and can help you realize how to be and do better. We all need that. Our communities deserve that. I went from being a parent to now working at the center. I believe in it that much.
Illinois Action for Children involved the community in every decision, and as a result, our work has grown by leaps and bounds. They have so much wonderful and brilliant ideas. We are absolutely learning from them. A great example is our texting program. Our families can sign up to receive texts for various needs. That program now reaches over 400 families. From there, we are able to funnel parents and children into the programs they need, and when targeted correctly, they show up in numbers. They thrive. And we, as the people designing these services, we have a responsibility to sustain those efforts for the community. This cannot be a one-off effort if we want to create long-standing change.
Our program, like the children we serve, still has growing to do. When supported by the full
All right. So moving on to the evaluation, IFC was awarded a grant, and we contracted an external partner, Chapin Hall, at the University of Chicago to evaluate the CPSS pilot. So this was, the evaluation period was from 2021 to 2025. It asked 5 main research questions. What processes do IFC and the 3 community partners use to implement the saturation pilot? To what extent do the parenting supports actually saturate or reach every family and the identified community? How do parents use different levels of parenting supports? What changes occur in parenting behaviors and functioning? And what changes occur in the relationships between children and their primary caregivers? Here's the evaluation timeline. So Chapin Hall conducted parent surveys, provider interviews, and parent focus groups. The provider and parent surveys were done at 2 different points in time. The parent survey was done in fall 2021 at time 1, and at time 2, it was done during the summer and fall of 2023. The provider surveys and interviews, the first one was done in 2022, and the final ones were completed in 2024 in the winter. And then the final collection of the program data, the cutoff date for the program data collected was in spring of 2023. So we actually have a program data master list that houses all of the program data from all 3 communities in Smartsheet, and that is what Chapin Hall used to help with the evaluation data. I wanted to highlight some of the qualitative findings that we got from parents during those focus groups. And this was parents who participated in the Tier 2 programs. So in Rockford, a parent who participated in Abriendo Puertas said, "I really loved what the program essentially stood for. It gives us parents tools to help better our kids develop in different areas. Just learning from other parents and to learn what works for me, or maybe getting perspective from another parent on a similar issue that I might be having with my little one." In Aurora, it has helped me a lot to be better with my kids. Now I ask them if they're okay and how they feel. I think I used to get desperate and yell. Now I'm a little more patient, and I also remember in those situations all the advice I received from the program. And in North Lawndale, a parent from Circle of Security said, one of the biggest things I've definitely seen in my parenting now, I have a lot more compassion and empathy when it comes to my child. I'm learning more about just where she is, setting expectations that are realistic for her, especially from some of the sessions, teaching about what development is appropriate and things like that. Here are the key takeaways from Chapin Hall. These were the main takeaways that they provided, but I will provide the full evaluation, the published evaluation at the end. But all three communities implemented many of their proposed activities despite challenges. Lead organizations developed and strengthened connections with community organizations. Frontline staff formed the backbone of the new and expanded supports and were essential to their success, of course. Outreach to families grew about available resources and the importance of early learning. And then lastly, these new programs provided support to parents and strengthened parent-child relationships, which are key factors to support children's social, emotional development and academic success. Some of the community learnings, just from the lessons learned as in people who worked on the pilot and IFC, implementation strategies really need to be customized. One key learning that we've seen working throughout this project and across these 5 years, moving into the 6th, is that every community has experienced unexpected challenges with their capacity, challenges with the external world, with funding. And so the ability to pivot and transform these interventions is really vital for these communities. And so having that flexibility is important. Text messaging with community messaging is essential. So we found that having the customizable options specifically, so when communities enroll, so a community organization decides to enroll in Bright by Text to get slots for Bright by Text for their community, having and making sure that you include custom messaging so that you can share community events and other resources has been shown to be one of the most helpful aspects about those text messaging platforms. Of course, the education, those text messaging platforms, if you're not familiar with, will send regular and like educational text messages based on principles. So for instance, if it's the basics text messaging platform, it would be the basics principles. But the community messaging aspect allows the organization to provide their own custom messages and share out when they're having, for instance, enrollment for Circle of Security or Abriendo Puertas. So that's really big. Another one is that it's really difficult to get families to enroll and maintain enrollment in Tier 2 programs. A lot of the Tier 2 programs take place across several weeks. Circle of Security has 8 weeks. Abriendo Puertas can go up to 4 to 6 weeks. And so even if we do get enrollment, oftentimes what you'll find is that parents drop off. And it's because it's life every day. They try to schedule these things at a good time. They try to have childcare. But even with all these considerations, external factors exist. And so that continues to be a common challenge. Learning kits can be a powerful bridge into other programming. The learning kits that the communities distribute, so for example, Alignment Rockford provides the basics learning kits. It will be a baggie filled with a book that they developed in collaboration with the basics that contains knowledge and education about early learning that aligns with the basic principles. It will have toys that have pamphlets about activities that parents can do and explains how it helps their children. It will have resources about the community. These are really great bridges and introducing them into signing up for Tier 2 programs like Opening Doors or Circle of Security. The data system must be custom to the community. So like I said earlier, we housed all the program data for all 3 communities in Smartsheet, but how each of their systems looked was completely different based on the type of information they collected and what type of what type of interventions they were implementing, what type of grants they were. As we moved on into the future too, we customized the data that we collected and the processes that we went went through based on the types of grants that they were going for and the direction that they were moving in. Consistency of data collection is critical because, of course, it is always critical. It's critical not just to make sure that you're continuously improving and listening to family voices, but also because it is essential for grant proposals, grant renewals, grant reporting to continuously have consistent data. It just strengthens the program, it strengthens the organization's case in general. And then lastly, community partner engagement is key. Every one of the communities worked with, I would say, 10 plus partner organizations. I would say easily 20, but I just don't want to over exaggerate, but it's the truth. And it was one of the most vital things for the success of hosting a majority of these interventions, because they need the space and they need the space and they need the areas that community already goes to and engages with. So these are like the library, these are like the park district. So having those partners is really key. All right. We're nearing the end. I did want to take a second just to provide some acknowledgements, just to show kind of how many people were involved in this work. IFC staff and former staff, our funders and our partners, and also the communities and the lead anchor organizations. I want to spotlight specifically Sonia Knight. She is the Chief Programs and Impact Officer at Carol Robertson Center in North Lawndale. Rosa Salacita, she's the Director of Early Childhood Initiatives at Spark Aurora at Fox Valley United Way. And Emily Klinicki, the Executive Director at Rockford, at Alignment Rockford. I wanted to give my acknowledgements to them, to all of the IFC staff that have worked on this pilot, and former staff, and all funders. And I have time for questions. Does anybody have any questions or any thoughts? And if not, I also have some important resources linked down here. We have a CPSS website on Illinois Action for Children, where you can go and you can see all of the information about the community parenting support program. There's also links to take a look at some of the work, a little bit more of the work done by the communities. The Partner Plan Act website, of course, I'm sure all of you are familiar with. And also the websites for the communities, Alignment Rockford website, Spark Aurora's, and Carol Robertson Center. I highly suggest you guys take a look and see some of the work that they've been doing. And go ahead and share some of those files as well. All right, thanks everybody.